Giant Bigfoot leaps fence carrying a bundle of broken branches near Meeks Creek Cabin Reservoir. We are on the northwest side of the Uinta mountain range searching for Sasquatch and looking for Bigfoot evidence because of the multiple sightings reported in these amazing mountains, not to mention footprints and trackway evidence. We would like to show you around while we go over some amazing evidence along with reports that motivate our team to search this high elevation area. Ethan writes RMSO after watching a video of a Bigfoot trackway near Meeks Cabin Reservoir that we will show you after we go over his report. Ethan states, I've had an experience at Meeks Cabin around 6 years ago. I saw a big hairy man at Meeks Cabin Reservoir in the Uinta Mountains of Wyoming. RMSO asks, what happened? What did you see? What time of day or night? Ethan continues, I haven't really told anybody about my experience because I'm worried about ridicule. After seeing your video with the Bigfoot tracks near the shore of Meeks Cabin Reservoir and the nearby sightings, I felt like I should reach out to you and tell you about my experience in that same area. I was camping with my mom in a trailer. We set up in a turnoff on the dirt road near Meeks Cabin Campground around the end of May. First thing one morning, I took my four-wheeler to the south end of the lake to go fishing. I was walking in the woods just past the campground to a place I could fish at the lake. I saw a tall, very dark brown, furry humanoid creature watching me. I looked at him, and he ran into the woods carrying a bundle of large broken branches in one hand next to his belly and balancing with the other hand as he ran and jumped an all-wood rail fence and disappeared into the woods. He was 8 or 9 feet tall and reminded me of a tall, furry human. He looked so human that even though I drew my sidearm, I had no intention of using it. He looked at me like I was crazy, then looked away, ran and jumped the fence with no problem. I had the sense that he was more afraid of me than I was of him. I was freaked out, but returned later to look for prints and couldn't make out any good ones. But you could tell where he had ran and see where he had broke through the undergrowth and vegetation. I don't know why he had a bundle of broken branches. Maybe they make fire or something. RMSO responds, we have found ground nests they make, and even though it looks uncomfortable, they will make a good-sized bed of pretty thick sticks and branches, then lay a few pine boughs down on them. Doesn't look comfortable, but it can get them an inch or two off the cold, muddy, wet, damp ground. Derek H. writes RMSO, did I ever show you the tracks my cousins found in the Uinta Mountains near the Meeks Cabin Reservoir campground a couple of years ago? This was taken where I camped last year. The gait is interesting and the mid-tarsal break. RMSO responds, that first impression closest to the camera has the correct Bigfoot dimensions, plus it has a very nice mid-tarsal ridge inside the impression. Derek continues, this year when I went back there I found the exact spot by matching up the background in the picture. It was traveling south through a campsite along the shore. My sister actually had an encounter up there about 3 years ago, right at the campsite. She doesn't like to talk about it, though. I've tried to get her to talk to someone about it, but no dice. It shook her up a bit. She sure heard it outside her tent. She was sleeping by herself. It freaked her out pretty bad. That Meeks cabin is a hot spot. I try to get up there every couple of years. RMSO states, these tracks remind me of a long string of Bigfoot encounters southwest of that location that lasted 3 or 4 years, and it motivated officials, Sasquatch research groups, and enthusiasts to scour the sighting locations on several Bigfoot expeditions, along with several newspaper articles about the sightings and investigations. Around 20 miles south from this location is the Crow Flies in Christmas Meadows, an area that has had a lot of Sasquatch reports during the late fall and early spring, and there is Bear Scout Camp where the creature has been spotted several times. One of our core members, Derek Wright, his uncle Steve, saw a Bigfoot near the East Fork Scout Camp several decades ago. An anonymous witness reports to the BFRO. It's report number 18056, near Christmas Meadows, during the night of June 12, 2001, while camping with my family and friends. I had a sighting of what I believe was a Bigfoot. The weather had turned cold and it had started to snow, so both families decided to sleep in my friend's Suburban. Sometime between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., I was wakened by the feeling that I was being watched. I looked to my right to find out if I could see anything but was unable to, so I tried to go back to sleep. However, I could not shake the feeling that I was being watched, and when I opened my eyes, I looked out into the meadow in front of the Suburban and saw a creature I believed to have been Bigfoot because it was walking upright, heading north through the meadow. I would guess its height between 6.5 and 7 feet tall. There was a follow-up investigation report by BFRO investigator T.F. Zemiski. Spoke with the witness in 2007. A few details to add from the conversation. He saw the biped at a distance of 75 to 100 yards on a partly cloudy night with enough moonlight to determine that he was seeing an upright animal. The sighting lasted only a few seconds and took perhaps 4 steps as it walked into the woods out of sight. The falling snow melted on the ground, so unfortunately no footprints would be apparent. Uinta mountain fisherman discovers Bigfoot trackway. Several photos included. A Sasquatch trackway was discovered in a hotbed location of Bigfoot activity and sightings. Ben comments on his post. So my buddy went backpacking in the Uintas over the weekend. He head off trail to a little known pond he discovered fishing years ago. These tracks show up around the shore. Defined toes with a mid-tarsal break. The gait was 42 inches approximately. What the heck? He seriously came across this in a primitive area. July 15th, 1994. Location, Bear Scout Camp. The witness wants to remain anonymous. Here's what he says. We were walking down a trail at night. It was a full moon, or a pretty big one anyhow. There was a stream, and on the other side I saw a hominid. It was walking on 2 feet, easily. Not a bear, not a gorilla, not a chimp, not any ape I'd ever seen. I'm very, very sure on that. It was either a man or a Bigfoot. I don't think it was a man. It doesn't fit very well. I only saw him a few seconds out of the dark shadows under the trees, but it was obvious it was just about 50 to 60 feet across the stream, walking along the bare side of an embankment where it sloped up from the stream bottom. I didn't say anything at first. It was just right there. I assumed the guy in front of me saw it and had taken it into account. We kind of looked to him as the leader, since he was a few years older. Anyway, when he didn't say anything, I began to suspect he didn't see anything. I think he was humming a song and wasn't paying much attention. I was about to speak up when the guy behind me started to say something too. He had heard a noise up ahead. He pointed to where the creature had gone. It walked across the slope and down toward the stream in front of us. There it made a noise above that small stream. It sounded like rock clacking against another, like when you step on a rock and it clocks into one another. So he was worried what the noise was. I was all excited and tried to tell him what I saw. We all got nervous. We yelled, but there was no answer. We were extremely scared. We were working on a merit badge, and the counselors were back at the scout camp. When you see another person up there, you say hi, because they're all fun-loving, friendly scouts or scoutmasters. This creature passed very near us, easily in range for a howdy or a hello, but it didn't answer and didn't talk. We backtracked through the meadow we were in at the time into the lodgepole pines at the other end. We sat in the dark till about 1 a.m. We figured the creature went past about 10 p.m. We imagined all sorts of things sneak up on us in the dark. We finally each got big sticks, and Danny got his knife, and we went the rest of the way down the trail to attack anything that moved. We were extremely scared. Let me describe the creature. It was tall, seemed about 6 to 7 feet tall. It was all one dark color. It walked surely and quickly and quietly. I noticed it brush a sapling with its hand as it walked by it. It had a high crown. It was built stoutly in the torso, hips, and thighs. I don't think a person that fat could move so smooth like it did. It also didn't look like a fat person. It seemed proportional, like that was how it was supposed to be. The thighs were wide and went up to a curved large buttock. It just wasn't like a person. It was bigger, but seemed, the only word I can think of, firm fit, not fat, not inhibiting. I'm very methodical, detailed-oriented type person.
I've loved nature all my life and know what the different animals look like. It was not a bear or an escaped ape. It moved in a distinct way. It sort of twisted its hips to the outline of the thigh and buttock changed. We didn't find any tracks or such. The night we saw it, we were too scared to go looking. The next day we had to do our job, which took all day. It had rained also before we had a chance to look for tracks, and we thought that any tracks would have been washed away. It was on the trail to Baker Lake, which starts at the East Fork of Bear Scout Camp. It was near a stream. It happened at the end of the first grassy meadow after you climb the hill and past the pond, about a mile from camp.